I want to talk to you about the difference between weight loss and fat loss because, and I'm guilty of it as well. I talk about weight loss and people wanting to lose weight. Really, what I want to refer to is fat loss. I think when most people talk about wanting to see a change in the scale, they want to change their body composition so that they have less body fat and increase muscle mass. What you need to understand is that there is a difference between weight loss and fat loss. I'm sitting here right now recording this, but I weigh about 145 pounds. And if I drank a quart of water, 32 ounces, and I got back on the scale, I would weigh 147 pounds. We all know that I didn't just put on 2 pounds of fat. I put on 2 pounds of weight. Weight loss is what occurs when someone goes on a fad or a crash diet. Weight loss is something that occurs quickly. It results in a loss of lean body mass or muscle mass. It includes water loss, and it tends to be temporary because you didn't change the behaviors that led you to overeat to begin with. What I like to do when I'm working with people is focus on fat loss. And fat loss takes time. But when you are working on fat loss, when you decrease your calories in, when you increase your calories out, change the behaviors that led you to overeat to begin with, you will draw on your fat stores, you will preserve your muscle mass, and hopefully maintain that weight loss. I did it again, and hopefully maintain that fat loss. So please know the difference between weight loss and fat loss and the risks associated with just trying to quickly lose weight. Fat loss takes time. I want to go over a study that was done at the NIH on showing how ultra-processed diets caused an excess of calories consumed and an increase in weight. This was a study that was done in a metabolic ward. Actually, it says here, a metabolic clinical research unit at the National Institutes of Health. It was done by Dr. Kevin Hall. The purpose of the study, do I have this here? The purpose of the study was to look at whether ultra-processed foods resulted in increased intake and increased weight gain or fat gain versus unprocessed foods. There's actually a criteria for what's considered ultra-processed and unprocessed, and they used these criteria when they were planning the meals for the folks. Now, this was a short study. It was 2 weeks on one diet and 2 weeks on the other, but it was done in a metabolic ward where they were able to control everything that was going in and everything that was coming out, and they did blood work. So it's a good start. The results of the study showed that when folks, when folks were on the ultra-processed diet, they tended to eat an average of 500 calories more each day, resulting in an increase of 2 pounds of fat for over the 2 weeks that they were on the diet. When they were on the unprocessed diet, they tended to average a decrease of 500 calories per day, resulting in a loss of 2 pounds over a week's time. Now, this is a study where they weren't eating a measured amount of food. They could eat as much as they wanted. It was just afterwards they measured how much folks had eaten. So that's how they knew how many calories they were consuming. And the results showed that when folks were on the unprocessed diet, they lost 2 pounds over the 2-week period. And when they were on the ultra-processed diet, they gained a pound a week or 2 pounds over the 2-week period. Dr. Hall wanted to make sure, though, that before national guidelines were made that discourage ultra-processed foods, people should be mindful of the fact that time, skill, expertise, and effort to prepare meals from minimally processed foods requires resources that are often in short supply. I think we read a lot about how we should be eating unprocessed foods, that we should be eating fresh fruits and vegetables, but the reality is not everybody has access, time, skill, everything that he's saying here, that people should be working on other ways to help get these skills to folks in order to help change their food processing, in order to help them to prepare foods that are less processed. Here's some pictures of the foods that were in this study. On the left, Let's see, what was this? This was breakfast on the right. This was the unprocessed. Lunch on processed. Lunch on unprocessed. Oh, these glasses here on the left, that's Crystal Light with the fiber supplement. Because as it turns out, ultra-processed diets tend to have very little fiber in them. Dinner on ultra-processed. Dinner on unprocessed. Now, to me, the unprocessed food looks really good, and I would probably choose those foods. However, they did evaluate folks. They did ask them, and apparently the appearance and the taste of the food was appealing in both unprocessed and ultra-processed. So go figure. Here's a formula to help give you an idea of how to lose body fat. It's suggesting being in a deficit of 500 calories per day, just like the folks that lost a pound of fat per week in the previous study. When you're in negative energy balance to the tune of 500 calories a day, that's about 3,500 calories a week, which should result in a loss of 1 pound of fat. So one way of getting into a 500 calorie deficit would be 40 minutes of aerobic exercise, cutting out 200 calories. So you would be in a deficit of 500 calories per day. And this should, the operative word is should, result in a pound per week of body fat while preserving muscle mass. And that's what you want to do. You want to preserve your lean muscle mass. You don't want to lose muscle while you're trying to lose body fat. A faster rate of weight loss forces the body to use muscle protein to meet the energy needs of the body. The benefits of exercise, okay, so here's a whole lot. You can have a look at them at your own time. But I do want to remind you that overexercising one area of the body does not result in spot reduction. I think the only way you lose spot reduction is liposuction. And the fact of the matter is you can still gain fat back, but just around that one spot. You won't gain fat, and it'll probably look pretty weird. Weight loss strategies, you want to have eating plans that are realistic, that result in small changes over time. You want to increase your activity. And I tell folks, pick something that you like. You know, if you don't like to run, don't run. If you don't like to swim, don't swim. Find something that you like to do. And this is the hardest part that I mentioned earlier, all right? The decreasing intake and the increasing expenditure, that's the easy part. This is the hard part. Changing the behaviors that led you to overeat to begin with. So you need to be realistic. You should work with somebody to help you maintain behaviors or to make behavior changes that you can live with. If you like Oreo cookies, I would never tell you to eliminate Oreo cookies. I might say, well, see how you can do with eating 3 of them instead of 6 of them. Oh, am I talking about myself again? Well, the idea is to set realistic goals, and this is the hardest part. Before we go, I just want to remind you that there are no foods, combinations of foods, or special formulas or pills that will burn off, melt away, or rearrange fat. Let me just say that one more time. There are no foods, combinations of foods, special formulas, or pills that will burn off, melt away, or rearrange fat. All right, folks, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves.